Well, now that we've installed WordPress, we're going to do a little bit of cleanup here. And it's a real simple steps that you need to take just to make sure that everything is set up to get ready to start adding your content. So we're here in our dashboard and we're going to come down to settings and we're going to go to general. I'm just going to step you through each one of these areas under the settings so we can make sure that everything's set up the way that we want. So here in general settings, we have our site title. This will be the information that is going to be associated with our website, and it's going to show up on our home page. And it's going to show up here in this tab area. So you see at the very top, I've hovered over, you see this is our home page right now. If I hover over it, you're going to see that it's going to show us exactly the page title that we have set here. Now, we have a tagline, and for whatever reason, WordPress always installs this tagline, just another WordPress site, and it looks really ridiculous. So see, when I hover over here, we see the Let's Socialize Club members area, just another WordPress site. We don't want that. So if you have a business tagline, this is a great place to put it. For this one, I don't really have a tagline, but I'm going to put actually, there we go, your resource for do-it-yourself marketing. Hey, I don't even know where that came from, but it sounds good to me, so I put that in there. Now, very, very important, do not, under any circumstances, change these two URLs. Because if you do it, you're going to break your website, and you're not going to be able to get it back without calling your hosting company. So, very important. We've got that set up with our default of where our URL for the website is. Now, the email address, this is also very important. Anytime that WordPress is updated or there is a new subscriber or any kind of communication, it's going to use this email address. So, you want to make sure it's an email address that you use and you have access to all the time. So I'm just going to use my Deanna@compassstrategies.net. Here is membership. If this is a membership site and anybody can register, you would check that box. Now, anyone can register for this site, but of course ours is going to be a paid site. So we'll go ahead and leave that checked. And the default role for a user, and now the important thing for you to know is this is your website and you will be an administrator. You may add additional people to access the website on your behalf. You can give them different roles that give them different options and different access to your site. So an administrator has the ability to pretty much do everything, anything and everything to the site. So you want to be careful who you make an administrator. Editors, authors, and contributors have declining levels of access. Some of that, they may not be able to add new users or delete users, but they may have the ability to install plugins, for example. An author may only have the ability to add content, and a contributor may have the ability to add content, but they cannot publish it, and it needs to be published by somebody reviewing their work. Subscriber is the lowest level. So typically, if you are going to allow people to access and register on your site, you're going to give them subscriber access, which is going to limit the amount of information that they have and the amount of access they have to make any changes to the website. Time zone, this is important when it comes to your publishing of your blog posts. If you want your blog post to show as being published, say in my case on Pacific time, I'm going to want to change my time zone to, in this case, the West Coast, and it uses a city in my time zone, which is Los Angeles. We have our date format, which is just fine as far as I'm concerned. We have our time format, which is also fine. Your week, the starting date of your week. The language, of course, is English for the United States. Now, this Mojo Auto Update Manager, because we used a script to install WordPress, it installed this Mojo marketplace, which I'm not real keen on, but it makes it real easy to install a website. I'm going to leave these in the default position for now. I may change this at a later date, but I don't see anything here that really causes me any concern. So I'm just going to leave that and say Save Changes. So again, this was our general settings. Now we're going to go to the next level under Settings and click Writing. So writing is typically, there's not always very much to do as far as changes here. The formatting, emoticons, for me that's not that important, so it's checked. I'll leave it. WordPress should correct invalidly nested hex HTML automatically. I don't know. Even I don't know what that means, so I'm going to leave that the way it is. Now, default post category might be important, and the reason why is I see so many people forget to tag their posts with a category, and so it shows that it's uncategorized automatically, and it kind of looks a little sloppy. So I've already created some categories, and just to be on the safe side, I'm going to make my default just websites. I'm obviously going to change that if there's, if I'm doing a different kind of post, like say on email marketing. But this way there's something legitimate in the category and it doesn't look so sloppy. Our default post format, your options are standard, aside, chat, gallery, link, image, all of this stuff. Standard is just fine. Now it's interesting here, you can actually post via an email. So you're going to have to set up a secret email account. You're going to have a very strong password. So these are all options where you could post via email. And we'll go over this in upcoming videos. But for right now, all of this looks pretty good. All I changed was making our default post category something other than uncategorized. So we're going to click Save Changes. Next, we're going to go into reading. Now, reading is where you would make a decision about how you want your home page to appear. So presently, our home page takes our most recent posts, and that is what's set up on our home page, right? So you may want it this way, or you may want a website that has what is called a static page. And a static page is simply going to select one of the existing pages that's always going to be your home page. This kind of depends on what your focus is for your website. If you are strictly a blogger, then your latest post is the way to go. So anytime you publish something new, your homepage is dynamically going to update with your most recent posts. If, however, it's a website for a business, you may want what is known as a static page. So that information is not going to change on an ongoing basis. So I could select what page I want to become my front page, and then I would select what is going to be my posts page, which would be basically my blog, where all my posts appear. So we're going to leave this one right now, as your latest post. We probably are going to change that, and we'll make some decisions later on. Now, your blog pages, you can set how many posts that you want to show up at any one time. You always will have access to all of the posts on the blog. This is just to make it look a little neater, so you don't have 20 posts before there's something to click to go to the next page of blog posts. So for right now, 10 is good. Syndication feeds will show the most recent. 10 is also fine. Now here, this is also interesting. For each article in a feed, you can either show the full text of the post or a summary. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so I popped on over to my deannafenton.com blog. so I can show you what the difference is. So this right now shows an excerpt. So you can see right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I show 5 posts per page. And then if people want to see more, they can click either the numbers here or they can click next page to go to the next series of 5 posts, right? So that is the part we looked at here, which was blog pages show at most X number of posts, and I chose 5 for the other site. Now the other option we had was, do we want to show the entire content of the blog post on this one page, or do we only want to show an excerpt of the post with this link that says read more? And you can see my choice for this particular website was to only show an excerpt, and then the person can click on read more and see the entire post here. This is a personal preference. It might also kind of be a design preference to make that choice as to what you prefer. So if we go back to the site that we're talking about, I'm also going to do it as a summary. I just think it looks a little nicer and encourages people to click through. Now, search engine visibility. This is something that if you choose to temporarily block this site from being indexed by the search engines, you need to remember to come in here and uncheck the box. So, to be real clear, if I check that box, it means I'm discouraging search engines from indexing the site. So if they come to the site, they're going to get something called a no follow, and they're not going to index the site. You might want to do that if you're just initially starting out with a website, but I always feel there's no harm, no foul in letting the search engine start indexing the site, even if it isn't typically published. So I would just leave that unchecked, and we're going to save our changes here. So now I've clicked on the next link, which is discussion, and this has to do with your blog and people making comments. Usually you're fine leaving these default boxes checked. And what this does is, this is all the guidelines and restrictions for people who are posting comments on your blog. It is important to monitor this pretty carefully, because you'll find that there's lots of people that are going to post what we call spam comments on your blog, hoping to generate links to spammy websites out there on the internet. This is going to set up in these cases that it's going to notify you, for example, if any blogs are linked to from the article. That's really great English, I guess. But this is basically giving you input if anybody tries to link to your blog posts. Allowing people to post comments on new articles. You typically do if you're dealing with blog posts. Encouraging people to leave comments is always a good idea. Again, you're going to need to monitor it carefully to prevent spam. We're going to require that the person leaving a comment must fill out a name and email address. You can also say that they must be registered and logged in to leave a comment. You can automatically close comments on blog posts older than 14 days. So you can see you've got a lot of different options. And like I said, depending on the type of site that you have and your desire to either allow comments or not, default's pretty good. Anytime someone posts a comment, it's going to send me an email, which is a good idea. And if a comment is held for moderation, meaning it's going to be held, it will not be published until somebody approves it, it's going to send an email. Now, I will tell you that this one was checked off like this. Before a comment appears, comment author must have a previously approved comment. I changed that. I would prefer that all comments must be manually approved before they're published. And here's an interesting one. Hold a comment in the queue if it contains 2 or more links. And the reason why is a common characteristic of comment spam is a large number of hyperlinks. So that would automatically block anybody that's posting a comment that has more than a couple of hyperlinks in it. You can also try and block it if by content, the name, URL, email address, any of that. Honestly, most of these, I just kind of let it default. It doesn't, I manually approve my comments and review them. And I have a Kismet on the site, which is another plugin that helps us to limit spam. Also, you can show avatars, which means if people have an avatar, and an avatar looks like, I don't know. Oh, this is an avatar. So, of course, I have one with my photo. Nancy, who made a comment on my post, didn't have an avatar. So this is the default image that shows up. And the same thing with Gina here. She didn't have an image, so this was the default. So you can change that from mystery person to blank or to any of these other guys. I think mystery person is just fine. So click Save Changes. Now I've clicked on Media, and this is where you can manage the default image sizes. So what will happen is if you want to include an image, that WordPress will give you some options for default sizes, because quite often we have a tendency that we upload images that are way, way, way too large. So what WordPress will do is to give you some options to make the sizes smaller and make them more standard. So a thumbnail, it's going to use 150 pixels by 150 pixels. A medium size, it's using 300 by 300. Large size, 1024 by 1024. You can play with these and change them as appropriately. Even 1024 by 1024 is really, really large. So I would typically leave this alone, and then I might manually edit or custom size some of my images, which you can do within WordPress when you upload the file. So once again, default's good, and we'll just hit Save Changes just because I like hitting it, and we're good. Now we're going to go to permalinks. Now this one's really pretty important. This is the default. So when I create a new post or even a page, this is the default format for the URL. So I will show you an example. Right here, I have this blog post that I published. I did not change my permalinks, and this is how it shows up. It's got a question mark, a P equals 14. Well, that's not really very descriptive. We also have some benefit from an SEO perspective if we have our keywords in the URL based on the page title. So you do want to come into permalinks, and I typically use post name. And you'll see down here also, it just plugged it in here to custom structure. And what that means is it's going to take the page title or the post title and append that to our URL as the location for that particular post or page. So I am going to save changes, and I'm going to show you what that looks like now. So if I go back over here to this post I published, I'm going to refresh my screen. And you can see right now up here in the URL up here now says how-to-install-WordPress. So that's a lot better. It is a lot more descriptive than P equals 14. So always remember to change your permalink to your post name and save your changes. So that has been our cleanup under our settings. We went under general, writing, reading, discussion, media, and permalinks. did a little cleanup for our site, and we're ready to take the next step.